We are down to 4 days before the NHL trade deadline, and the rumor mill is really heating up with seeing 3 trades in the past 3 days. Today we're taking a look at the Maple Leafs and what they're likely going to do before Monday. Claude Giroux playing game 1000 tonight, but will it be his last in the Flyers uniform? We also have the latest on the Montreal Canadiens, St. Louis Blues, Nashville Predators, Boston Bruins, New York Rangers, and more. Plus we have news from the waiver wire, a signing, and some key injury updates. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a ton of news and rumors to talk about here today. First up, quick update from the NHL waiver wire. We had Tyler Benson and Matthew Perreault both on waivers yesterday. Both players have cleared. There's no claim, so they can both be reassigned to their team's minor league affiliate. And we have a new player on waivers today, which is Dallas Stars defenseman Andrej Sekera. So we'll find out if he gets claimed. I would say most likely he won't be. I think Dallas is trying to make a little bit of cap and roster room to maybe acquire an extra defenseman, given the fact that Miro Heiskanen is going to be out. But we'll see where that goes as of tomorrow afternoon. Now, with some key injury updates here. For one, Ottawa Senators top defenseman Thomas Chabot could be done for the season. Looks as though he's got a fractured hand. Left last night's game early on, so that's not promising. Obviously, the Senators are likely, they weren't really looking to go to playoffs at this point. They know their season was pretty much over that way, but still, they want to end with as much success as possible to build on for next year. And this team has been ravaged by injuries all season long, and it just continues. So one of the top minute munchers in the entire NHL, in the Sens' top player, Chabot, is likely done. Vegas Golden Knights goalie Robin Leonard, there's some different reports out there, but it doesn't sound too good. Sounds like it could be pretty serious, and his regular season at least might be over. We had previously heard reports about a shoulder injury that's likely going to require surgery in the offseason, and now, like I said, he's been spotted on crutches, and there is belief out there that he could have a fractured kneecap, so that's something that could be significant as well. So I would largely suspect we're going to see Vegas make some kind of a move to be aggressive here, or will they sit tight and be like, okay, we have all these injuries this year, maybe it's just not our year, we're going to sit back and not kind of blow our brains out here with all this draft picks and whatever prospects we have left, because they've been so aggressive in the past 4 years that they don't really have a deep pool of younger players or prospects that they could, or picks really, that they could really afford to trade. So hard to say, but we know that owner Bill Foley's whole mantra there when he first got the franchise in place was win a Stanley Cup in 5 years. Well, they're pretty much getting to that point, and this is not the year for them based on how everything has gone so far. So it'll be very interesting to see what they will do. I mean, obviously, there was some talk a few weeks ago that they had inquired about Marc-Andre Fleury, but then it was quickly denied. And personally, to me, it would make a ton of sense if it was true, because they need somebody like him, and who better who's, on an expiring contract available. I don't know. We're going to talk a little bit about Fleury here momentarily anyways, but I do think it would make sense that there was probably some truth to those rumors, but we'll see where that goes. Vegas also today signed defenseman Jerard Pouliot, former first-round pick who's never really materialized in his career the way a lot of people thought he would. Has been playing in the American Hockey League with their team in Henderson on an AHL-only deal. He gets an option here to get signed to a two-way deal so he can be called up and we'll get a chance to play back in the NHL again, largely due to the vast amount of injuries they have. Nick Leddy with the Detroit Red Wings is sitting out tonight. He is likely going to be traded as well. Don't have any speculation on where he might be heading here just yet, but clearly with him sitting out, that's a clear sign that Steve Yzerman's working the phones and is close to trading the veteran defenseman before the deadline kicks in. So we'll see about Leddy, but another name to keep an eye on. Now, when it comes to the Maple Leafs, as I mentioned, there's obviously a lot of deals that have gone down the last couple days. It's believed that their main targets here are a combination of Mark Giordano and maybe Marc-Andre Fleury. Depends on what NHL insider you kind of listen to here. I know Frank Saravalli was saying he'd be shocked if they didn't go for a goalie. I've heard Friedman and Merrick talk about this on 32 Thoughts as well. Not necessarily saying for sure that Fleury was going to be going there or anything like that nature, but that they definitely at least had some conversations about it. Hard to say how serious it was. But I know just listening to the Cold Stove podcast with anonymous insider NRD who has a lot of great intel, and he seems convinced that there's a good chance that Fleury's going to not only move, but could end up in a Canadian city. So it really makes you wonder. I know the Leafs are going to be going into tonight's game with the young rookie Allred again, and we'll see how he does get a shutout his first game. That's an awful lot of pressure to put on a young goalie without having much experience. I mean, to me, if they trade it for a guy like Fleury, like I said before, if that Chicago eats half his salary and they move Mrazek in the deal, you have yourselves pretty much an offset of money in, money out for cap situation so that it could work. And we'll see on that. But Giordano seems to be their target defensively. But the problem here is the return that you saw yesterday in the Ben Chiarot trade, which included a first-round pick and a prospect and a mid-round pick. Dubas has made it known publicly numerous times that he does not want to trade his first-round pick for a rental, but considering what's out there and they need help between the goalie situation or on the defense, I don't know if he's going to have much of a choice. I'm not really sure what kind of package he can put together unless they plan to subtract from their roster. Could they do something more significant? I just don't really know what the Leafs have up their sleeve here, but many believe that Giordano is a top defenseman that they're kind of gunning for. He's not playing for Seattle. They've agreed to sit him out until the trade happens, so we'll see where this goes, but I don't really know what it's going to end up here. It's quite likely that Travis Dermott is included in one of these deals or whatever they end up happening here to get himself a fresh start. Maybe Justin Hall. Would they include Nick Robertson? Do they have Matthew Nyes, Niemela? I don't know what prospects they would include. Of course, Rodion or Mirov's having a pretty significant health issue, so I don't see that happening. I don't know, but the Leafs certainly have their eyes set on a couple of these veteran players, and it'd be interesting to see what they work out. The Montreal Canadiens, of course, they traded Ben Chiarot last night. Could Arturi Lehkonen be next? It's possible, but it's not a given. Based on the dialogue we saw from Kent Hughes today and his media availability, I think Lehkonen or Jeff Petrie could likely be traded, but it's not a given. Like he said, he's open to trading Jeff Petrie because he's openly asked for it due to family reasons, but he said at the same time he's only going to do it if he gets the right offer. So it's really hard to say what happens. I think a Petrie trade is more likely. Probably in the summer would be a better opportunity when teams have a little bit more flexibility. Hard to say on that front. I mean, as far as other Montreal Canadiens go, you'd have to think that there's a chance that there's a variety of players could move. I know that Eric Engels, the writer for Sportsnet who covers the Habs, put out an article this morning looking at basically what the Habs could be left to do here before the deadline. He mentioned numerous players that could be moved, but it would probably be for smaller returns. It wouldn't be as significant. Obviously mentioned players like Cedric Paquette and Matthew Perreault, who have both been through the waiver wire recently. He mentioned maybe Chris Weidman. Yoel Armia apparently has been getting some interest. And of course there's Lehkonen. You have to wonder, Jake Allen makes his return tonight. Is he going to get some interest? Will teams start calling on him? Teams certainly need help goaltending-wise a few places. So, and he's not making a ton of money. Good, reliable goaltender normally, so hard to say what happens there. But Montreal still has a lot of players left that could go, and we'll just see. Chris Weidman's another one, too, because I didn't mention him before. Now, the St. Louis Blues have had their eye on a few different players. They were in on some of these other defensemen and have already moved. It's rumored that they're interested in Jacob Chychrun, but I'm not sure that deal is going to get done now until the summertime. The St. Louis Blues were reportedly, throwing Jordan Binnington's name out there a little bit. I don't think it's fair to say that they were actively shopping him, but I know there's teams that certainly are looking for goalie help, and they're looking for help in other areas, and there are some reports from NHL insiders saying that his name has at least been brought up, but I don't think any kind of serious conversations have been had. I think in the summertime, though, I would not be surprised if Ville Husso has a good run here, that maybe they really do explore that. But I think that's, again, another deal for later. You have to think as well, James Neal, who's in the Blues organization in the minors, doing quite well. If, a team wants a veteran guy like him, he's on a cheap one-year contract. Would he possibly get picked up in a deadline deal? That's another player you might see leave St. Louis as well to get more of an opportunity somewhere else. And of course, tonight is Claude Giroux's game number 1,000 of his career, all with the Philadelphia Flyers. He's had a heck of a career, long-time legend in Philly, probably has his number retired, maybe even goes back to Philly after the end of the year here, next into the offseason. Hard to say. I'm not sure if they'll work something out, but right now, all indications indicate that he's more than likely going to Florida in a trade that's probably going to happen basically anytime after tonight. I'm not sure how quickly it'll come together, but there's been a lot of Philly brass of scouting Florida Panthers and their American Hockey League players. I believe there's even, I think somebody's in attendance tonight for the Flyers game. I think it's like the Panthers like traveling secretary or somebody who makes all the accommodations and different arrangements and stuff like that is reportedly in the game or at the game tonight too. So I don't know how close things are. But it's believed that even though many thought Giroux would have to command a first-round pick, that the Panthers, who don't have that, and after giving one up for Ben Chiarot, and they also gave one up to the Sabres for Sam Reinhart, they don't have a first-rounder for this year or next, that it likely is going to have to trade a combination of prospects that are kind of considered first-round talent. So Owen Tippett appears to be the focal point for the Flyers, who's more NHL ready to go now, and I would suspect that either one or two other pieces will be included, and likely going to be possibly 2021 first rounder Mackie Samoskevich, maybe Grigory Denisenko, maybe Alexei Heponiemi. So you're probably going to get like a more recent first rounder like Samoskevich, and then like I said, Tippett's NHL ready, and it wouldn't be shocking if there was a third piece in there, which is either Denisenko or Heponiemi, or maybe it's a later round pick or something to that effect. But some combination of that is more than likely what we're believing to be the return package here for Giroux to Philadelphia Flyers. So we will see where that goes. But this very well could be Giroux's 1,000th game, possibly his final game as well in a Flyer uniform, unless he re-signs in the offseason. So we'll see where that goes. A couple other quick updates as well. Philip Forsberg in Nashville, we don't really have a lot to say except that things are quiet. There's been no indications of contract negotiations going well or progress being made, and I don't really want to think that David Poile is going to go into the deadline here with an unsigned Forsberg and not trade him. So that could be a big add by somebody. I know the Avalanche seem to be zeroing in on Giroux, and if he goes to Florida, who is the next target for the Avalanche? Could it be a guy like Forsberg, for example? Makes you wonder what they're going to do, although they're division rivals with the Preds, so it might be a little less likely in that front. But I know that the Avs were gearing up to add another forward, like a bigger name forward too. So I don't know what happens in that case, but certainly another player that I'm very curious to keep an eye on. Max Domi as well in Columbus appears to be very likely to get moved. The Bruins and Rangers were teams mentioned as having interest there. I'm not entirely convinced that the Rangers make any big swings at this point. I think they're probably going to be doing something a little bit lower key, rounding out their bottom six, and Domi could add some grit and some scoring ability and decent skating and scoring to that third or fourth line. So to me, that's probably what they're going to do. Maybe just add some depth in that regard. Of course, we saw them add Frank Vatrano. So to me, another move similar to that is what we're probably most likely going to get out of the Rangers organization. The Bruins could add a forward of Domi's caliber as well. Maybe a depth defenseman. In 32 Thoughts today, the actual blog from Elliot Friedman, he threw out there about just something that was popped in his head. He didn't have any intel to suggest that it was actually, possible or anything of that nature being discussed at all. But he wondered about Zdeno Chara going to Toronto. I know they're likely going to want to figure out a blue hunter if they can too, and he's on a cheap contract, but I don't see that. I'd really be quite surprised if it happened. But I would think that Lou Lamoriello and the Islanders will certainly talk to Chara about potentially moving and see what the thoughts are around that and see if they can accommodate something if he wants to go chase the Stanley Cup. But he's had a tough year. Maybe he wants to end it early. I don't know. We'll see. The Islanders are not completely out of it at this point, but they certainly have quite an uphill battle ahead of them if they want to have any shot at getting into the playoffs. So let me know what your thoughts on everything discussed here today. We may have more trades tonight. It's difficult to say. It's been a busy few days so far, and it's likely going to continue to get busy as we get closer to Monday's deadline. So let me know your thoughts. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news and rumors and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.